Section 0 of a Hebrew Grammar by Strack. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For further information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Hebrew Grammar with Reading Book, Exercises, Literature and Vocabularies by Hermann L. Strack. Translated from German by Archibald R. S. Kennedy. Second enlarged edition, Berlin, 1889. From the preface of the first German edition. The superabundance of Hebrew grammars, which perhaps already exists, is not increased by the present work. It takes the place of the grammar of J. H. Petermann, 1845, and simply with a new title, 1864, which is now no longer in the market. It has been occasioned by a want which has been strongly felt by me for a considerable time. For the initiatory studies of the yearly increasing number of such as begin Hebrew at the university, the otherwise serviceable grammars at present in use are too extensive, besides being either too elementary or too difficult for beginners. Now, since the whole of the accidents must, for obvious reasons, be gone over in at most one term, I found myself compelled to occupy the greater part of the time with dictating. Since, however, a new alphabet had to be learned, at the same time this method was attended with serious inconveniences, and the necessity of a printed compendium became every day more apparent. May the book, which is now offered to the public as the result of many years' experience as a teacher, prove useful to others besides my own students. As already remarked, I have written in the first place for students wishing to prepare themselves in the shortest possible time for attendance on the easier exegetical lectures in the university and for the use of more extensive works of the Hebrew language. I feel justified, however, in hoping that my work, particularly since it has been materially enlarged in the second edition, will be found suitable for use in schools, since it discusses only the most important points, these, however, fully and clearly. Irregular forms not mentioned here may be explained by the teacher or looked up in the analytical appendix of the lexicons. That in a few places more is offered than is found even in the most of the larger grammars will not disturb the beginner and will be welcomed by not a few other readers. The present work differs more or less from the Hebrew grammars known to me in the following points. The vocabulary, with the exception of the exercises in reading, is taken as far as possible from Genesis and Psalms. All the Hebrew forms in the grammar and in the exercises really occur in the Bible. None have been constructed by the author. Such hypothetical forms as are adduced simply to explain the genesis of existing forms, and formations that are warned against, will in all cases be found transcribed in italics. Only too easily does the learner retain precisely that form which he must not use when it is presented to him in Hebrew characters, along with other forms. The object of the arrangement adopted in the paradigms of the weak verbs, which differs from that usually followed, is to render a mechanical learning by rote impossible. It should also be borne in mind that all complete paradigms contain forms that can be justified by no certain analogy. Should the teacher desire to complete any paradigm, he may profitably allow this to be done by the students themselves. It is a matter of experience that for years the study of Hebrew is no pleasure to many from the fact that they have not, at the very outset, overcome the difficulties inherent in the reading of unfamiliar characters. To remove these difficulties is the aim of the carefully arranged exercises in reading. In the exercises for translation, so much matter has been condensed into a few pages that whoever has thoroughly mastered the whole is sufficiently prepared to read the easier sections of the Old Testament, and is no longer in need of a reading book. I acknowledge with pleasure the assistance I have derived in my studies from the books cited on page 11* and the following. The following pages, however, are, directly or indirectly, almost exclusively the product of my own experience as an instructor. Should they contribute in some degree to a better preparation for the study of the Word of God, as contained in the Old Testament Scriptures, I shall consider myself richly rewarded for the pains bestowed upon them. Berlin, West, May 6, 1883. H. L. Strack. Preface to the second German edition. The exceedingly kind reception which my book has met with on the part of both teachers and students has served as an incentive to bring it, so far as the shortness of time permitted, nearer what it aims to be, that is, a short yet scientific grammar of the Hebrew language for beginners. Apart from quite a number of minor additions and the short chapters 40 and 77, there has been added, first, almost the whole of the syntactical matter, that is, not only chapter 81 to 91, but the bulk of the syntactical remarks in chapters 17 to 19, 21, 39, 41 and the next, 46 and the next, 63 and the next. The introduction of a part of the syntax into the chapter on the forms seemed to me to be justified by a regard for the practical work of instruction, chapter 39, numerals, and with reference to the space saved. Secondly, chapter 12, which treats of the syllable, and in which the remarks on opened and loosely shut syllables should be carefully noted. Thirdly, the exercises for translation have been enlarged by the addition of a number of sentences, which I have preferred to take from proverbs in order to give the student at least some acquaintance with the gnomic wisdom of the Old Testament. The wish to have connected pieces for reading and translation I have sought to comply with by adding for 6 extracts: 1 Samuel 9:25, 1 Kings 3, Psalms 121, 127, 130. Such explanatory notes as will enable the student to read them with the help of the appended vocabulary. In this connection, it may be observed that the student who has mastered this little grammar will be able, even without a dictionary, to read a considerable part of Genesis with but little assistance from the instructor. I have to thank Professor S.R. Driver of Oxford, whose excellent work on the use of the tenses has been special service to me for chapters 88 and 91, for detailed information on the recent literature in English. For pages 2* to 19*, I have preferred Latin to English in order that the type may be serve both for the German and for the English edition. Berlin, August 15, 1885. H. L. Strack. Preface to the second English edition. In compliance with requests made to me from various quarters, I have prepared, as a complement to my Hebrew grammar, exercises for translation into the Hebrew language. In order to inspire the student with a greater interest in his work, I have taken special pains to furnish him at as early a stage as possible with sentences for translation, in addition to the bare grammatical forms. These exercises, like the grammar, are so arranged that the student may begin with the noun or with the verb, or may take them together if he so choose. If he elects to follow the first of the three alternatives just given, he will take the exercises in order, passing over, meanwhile, those sentences in which verbal forms occur, indicated by their position at the end and by two parallel bars. In the second case, the student, after finishing number 4, may turn at once to the verbal forms in numbers 24 to 30. In the third case, he will have to master, before number 5, the perfect kal, also the forms in number 24, before number 9, the whole of the kal, see numbers 25, 26, before number 10, nifal, piel, pual, see numbers 27, 28, before number 21, hifil, hofal, hithpael, see numbers 29, 30. By far the greater number of sentences are taken either verbatim or with such modifications as the plan of the work required from the Old Testament. Those who have had experience in such matters know that the making of such a selection is more difficult than to make up sentences for oneself, a task in which only too many have come to grief. To render these exercises available also for those who use the well-known grammars of Gesenius Couch, English edition by Dr. E. C. Mitchell, 1880, and of Professor A. B. Davidson, I have added the corresponding sections of these grammars at the beginning of each exercise. Since it is desirable that beginners should be furnished with a large number of connected passages for translation than is as yet to be found in the chrestomathy at the end of the grammar, I have added in the shape of an appendix such explanatory notes as seem to me necessary for the study of Genesis 1 to 3 and Psalms 1 to 3. With the help of these the student will be independent of larger works, as it will be sufficient for him to consult the vocabulary appended to the grammar. Should a new edition of the latter be called for, the notes here given will be joined to those I have already given, pages 47* to 50*. May these pages likewise contribute to a better preparation for the study of the Word of God as contained in the Old Testament Scriptures. Groß Lichterfelde, near Berlin, Pentecost 1889, H. L. Strack. Remark: A, E, O denote vowels long by nature or by contraction. A, E, O tone-long vowels. E and U stand for every long E and U. The position of the tone is indicated by accent. For example, meta, pausal form by adnach. Where no book is named, the quotation is from Genesis. Forms occurring only once are accompanied by a cross. Numbers in parentheses indicate how often a form occurs. For example, chapter 17e, Köhayom, 8 times. Numbers 2 and 3 in brackets with exclamation mark signify that a word may be explained in 2 or 3 ways. He for Yahweh Adonai, see chapter 9b. G means Genesis, Psi means Psalms, P is Pelonie aliquis. End of section 0. Section 1 of a Hebrew grammar by Strack. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For further information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Hebrew Grammar by Hermann L. Strack. Section 1. Orthography and Phonology. Chapter 1. Alphabet. Hebrew is written from right to left. The alphabet consists entirely of consonants. Their form, names, transcription, pronunciation, and numerical value are shown in the table on the following page. Since the fundamental idea of any stem in Hebrew, as in the Semitic languages generally, is almost always conveyed by the consonants, for example, the three consonants G, T, L always express the idea of killing, whereas, for example, MTR in English may signify meter, miter, motor, major, matter. An alphabet that indicated the consonants only sufficed for the Hebrews. In doubtful cases, suitable consonants were employed as matres lectionis, that means to indicate the vowels. See Yod for I and E, Waw for O and U, rarely Aleph for long A. Concerning He at the end of the word, see Chapter 2b. 5 characters have a different form at the end of the word. See German end S and middle S. Kaf, Mem, Nun, P, Sade. Vox memorialis, Gymnapes. Alphabet. Aleph, numerical value 1, Bet, numerical value 2, Gimel, numerical value 3, Dalet, numerical value 4, He, numerical value 5, Waw, numerical value 6, Zayin, numerical value 7, Chet, numerical value 8, Tet, numerical value 9, Yod, numerical value 10, Kaf, numerical value 20, Lamet, numerical value 30, Mem, numerical value 40, Nun, numerical value 50, Samech, numerical value 60, Ayin, numerical value 70, P, numerical value 80, Sade, numerical value 90, Qof, numerical value 100, Resh, numerical value 200, Sin and Shin, numerical value 300, Tau, numerical value 400. Chapter 2. When a vowel, a chatev, or a sheva mobile, or a loosely closed syllable immediately precedes, the consonants have a softer pronunciation than when this is not the case. 6 consonants have the harder pronunciation regularly indicated by a point, dagesh lene, inserted in the letter. B, G, D, K, P, T, but W, R, D, Ch, Th, Th. He, otherwise with dagesh, at the end of the word is usually only an inaudible sign that the preceding consonant is followed by a vowel. For example, that Rish, Bet, He is not to be pronounced Rav, but Reve, Rove, Rabba, etc., according to the context. Note: this mater lectionis is especially employed when Tau or Yod has been dropped in pronunciation and thereafter in writing. Yod, when no vowel immediately follows, remains silent. 1. After I and E. 2. In the middle of a word, after Shegol, for example, Yadecha. 3. At the end of a word in the ending. Au, also written Au, for example, Nashau, but Goi, Yadai, etc. Ein, a peculiar guttural, differently pronounced in different words. See Arabic Ein and Rein. The hardest pronunciation may be approximately reproduced by R. Chapter 3. Classification of consonants. 1. Gutturals. Chet, He, Ein, Aleph. Vox memorialis, Ahacha. 2. Palatals. Kof, Kaf, Gimel, Yod. Vox memorialis, Gichak. 3. Linguals. Tet, Tau, Dalet, and Nun, Lamet. Vox memorialis, Dat, Lenet. 4. Dentals or sibilants. Sade, Sin, Samech, Zayin. Vox memorialis, Sassash. 5. Labials. P, Bet, Mim, Wow. Vox memorialis, Bumaf. In regard to hardness of pronunciation, the following are identical: Kof, Tet, and Sade. Kaf, Tau, P, and Sin, Samech. Gimel, Dalet, Bet, and Zayin. Waw and Yod are semi-vocalic consonants. Lamet, Mim, Nun, and Resh are liquids. Resh has several peculiarities of the gutturals. Chapter 4. Vowels. After Hebrew has ceased to be a living speech, a system of vocalization was invented and elaborated, probably between the 6th and the 8th century after Christ, in order to preserve the proper pronunciation of the sacred writings. The current enumeration of 5 long and 5 short vowels, as follows, was introduced by Joseph Kimchi, 12th century. 1. Games, A, Yad, Shav. 2. Sere, E, Shem, Ner, from Nawir. E, Chek, Ene. 3. Chirek magnum, I, Riv, Dawid or Dawid. 4. Cholem, O and O. Mot, Chok. Often Cholem for O, for example, Kol, alongside of Kol. More rarely Cholem for O. 5. Shurek, U. Arur, Hayu. 6. Patach, A. Rak. 7. Serol, E. Egdal, L. 8. Chirek parvum, I. im, 9. Games Chatuf, o. Rochbo, kol. 10. Kibbus, u. Chulda, shulchan. Sogol is also used to indicate the open e sound, or arising by vocalic modification, Umlautung, out of a. For example, zera from zar, re'ena. Whether kames is kames or kames chatuf can frequently be determined only by a knowledge of the derivation of the form in question. For most cases, the following will suffice. Kames is long a both in an accented and in an originally open syllable. Kames is o in an unaccented closed syllable. For example, chochma, 2 before a guttural with chatef kames. For example, yoamat for yomad, ho chaleti, po ali, po chali, or with another kames chatuf, for example, po olcha. 3. In kodashim and shorashav, plural of kodesh and shoresh. Note: an exception to number 2 is the case where kamesh is the vowel of the article, as in ha'aniyah, ba'aniyah, ba'oniyah, from ha'aniyah plus bet. Patach also indicates a short helping vowel, patach furtivum, which is inserted before a hard final guttural, he, ein, when preceded by a heterogeneous long vowel, that is, all long vowels except a. Ruach, zorea, siach, gavua. See further chapter 65d. Kibbus appears frequently for shurek, for example, shuv as well as shuv in plene, kumu and kumu plene. Very rarely shurek for kibbus, for example, yulad. The employment in unpointed text of the vowel letters aleph, waw, and yod as matres lectionis is called scriptio plena, their non-employment scriptio defectiva. Yakumu, Sukkot, and Dawit are written plene, Yakumu, Sukkot, and Dawit defective. When cholem and sin come together, the dot indicating cholem is, in printed texts, either placed over the left or the right limb of the sin. For example, shomer for shomer, taphos for taphos, or where it would coincide with the diacritical point of the sin, dropped altogether. For example, sorek, moshel. End of section 1. Section 2 of the Hebrew Grammar of Strack. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For further information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Hebrew Grammar by Hermann L. Strack. Translated by A.R.S. Kennedy. Section 2. Chapter 5. Shewa and Chatef. 1. Schwa quiescens simplex. Sign of the entire absence of a vowel stands in the middle of a word under every audible consonant that closes a syllable. For example, darko, mavdil, but matzata. See chapter 10c better. Note: for schwa in a loosely shut syllable, see chapter 12q. At the end of a word, 1. When the word ends in kaf or in two consonants. Lach, baruch, amart, nerd, at. But with aleph final, see chapter 10c alpha, chet, wayar. 2. In old, especially Spanish manuscripts, and in some printed texts, not uniformly however, in the second singular feminine perfect of the verbs tertier he and tertier aleph, for example, bear, prince, vökarat, Genesis 16:11, and thou, feminine, callest, gilit, Jesaja 57:8, thou, feminine, hast uncovered. 2. Schwa mobile simplex, vocal schwa. The shortest vowel, only, as it were, a slight vocalic glide, must be employed when the first consonant, except ahacha of a syllable of a word, has no longer a vowel of its own. Pene, ameda, yachperu, me alemim. 3. Chatef. In order to indicate distinctly the vocalic nature of schwa mobile, it has uniformly added to it under gutturals, rarely with other consonants, the sign of one of the three short vowels. Patach, shegol, kames. Schwa compositum or chatef. Especially common is chatef patach. See kevor and avor, tsarka and sahaka, under other consonants, particularly when a consonant is repeated in the middle of a word and the first is entitled to schwa mobile. Erara, sorarai, halalu, for hallelu, chapter 6f. Sometimes, too, under resh before the tone, baruchu, and after waw copulativum, uzahav, Genesis 2:12. Much less common are chatef shegol, especially under aleph, emor, Elohim, and chatef kames, ani, sari. Chatef serves besides in the middle of many words to facilitate the pronunciation of gutturals that would otherwise be quite vowelless. Yehzak, yehezak. See further chapter 10a4. Before schwa we find instead of chatef the corresponding vowel. It is, however, only a helping vowel and does not form a syllable. See chapter 12p. For example, ya'amod, plural, ya'amdu, yechezak, plural, yechezku, pa'ali, pa'alka. Chapter 6, Dagesh, Mapik, Rafe. Dagesh lene, a point placed in the bosom of a letter, is used with the 6 letters bet, Gimel, Dalet, Kaf, P, Tau, Begat Gefat. When these are not immediately preceded by a vowel, a schwa mobile, a chatef, or a loosely closed syllable, chapter 12q, for example, katavti, yichtov, kavda. Hence, after a conjunctive accent, see chapter 7e, pune to home, after a distinctive accent, on the other hand, otoki, Genesis 2:3, ishaki, Genesis 2:23. Note: many manuscripts place dagesh lene, according to chapter 2a, in all other consonants as well. It is, however, indefensible on the part of Baer to place dagesh lene, apart from begat gefat, only one after gutturals with schwa quiescens, for example, Psalm 10:1, ta'lim for ta'lim. Second, when a word begins with the same consonant with which the immediately preceding word ends. For example, Genesis 14:23, im mihut, Psalm 9:2, bechol libi. And even in these cases, Baer is not consistent. See H. L. Strack, Theologische Literaturzeitung, 1879, number 8, column 174. The point, usually called mappik, which indicates that he at the end of a word is to be sounded as a consonant, is also a dagesh lene. Dama, pronounce dama. Damah, mappik, is found 4 times in Aleph. First Genesis 43:26, Vayavi'u. Dagesh forte, in form the same as dagesh lene, is the sign of the doubling of a consonant. Yammim in Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Kof, P, Tau is served also as dagesh lene. Yipparet out of Yehinparet. Yitten out of Yinten. Dagesh forte is alpha, either dagesh essential or dagesh forte necessarium, when it is conditioned by the grammatical derivation of the form, that is, particularly when it occurs in the second of 2 consonants originally found in the form yamim for yamim, hillel for hillel, hishbati for hishbatti, natati for natanti. Better, or so-called dagesh forte euphonicum, for example, when a single consonant has been doubled from considerations of euphony, or when it is intended to indicate the vocalic nature of the schwa mobile. Examples, chapter 25, CE. On the different varieties of dagesh forte euphonicum, see Baer, to be read with criticism, Liber Proverbiorum, 1880, page 10 to 14, 15, König, 1, 53 to 60. Note: dagesh forte necessarium is not written 1. in a vowelless final consonant, for example, gan, stem, ganan, concerning the lengthening which in such a case generally enters by way of compensation. See chapter 11e. Exceptions: at, natat. 2. In gutturals, when often compensation lengthening, chapter 10a1. 3. frequently in a number of consonants with schwa mobile, especially waw, yod, lamet, mim, nun, kof, and particularly before gutturals, the sibilants. Examples: yivrim, plural of yiver, hayvusi, chapter 17, vayhi, vaychal, always with yod as prefix of the imperfect after waw consecutivum, chapter 64f. Halalu, chapter 5d, for halelu, lamnaseach, hineni, yiktu, bikshu, chapter 60b, kis-o from kisse, yis-u, yis-u, milom for mileom, Genesis 25:23, mishmane for mishemane, Genesis 27:28, 39, mikse for mikkse, minkse, Genesis 8:3, 47:2. Rafe, that means soft. A horizontal stroke over the letter indicates its softer pronunciation. In printed editions of the scriptures, Rafe is almost exclusively confined, not always consistently, however, to cases where it is meant to indicate that the absence of a dagesh or a mapik is intentional. In many manuscripts, also over Begat Kefat, in all cases where these letters have no dagesh. Chapter 7. The accents. In addition to the vowel signs, each word, except when joined to the following by Makef, chapter 8b, is furnished with one of the small signs which, from their significance, now in more than one respect lost to us, for a chanting of the sacred texts have been named accents. We have here to treat of them: A as signs of tone, B as signs of interpunction. A as signs of tone. Most of the accents stand beside the syllable that has the main tone or stress. For example, bara Elohim and kara laila. Two are found at the beginning of the word without regard to the position of the tone, accentus praepositivi. Yutiv esem, Genesis 2:23, and Telisha Gedolah haares, Genesis 1:30. Four at the end, accentus postpositivi. Segolta, harakia, Genesis 1:7, Pashta, Laor, Genesis 1:5, Sarkar, Vayomer, Genesis 2:23, and Telisha Kutana, Vayiser, Genesis 2:7. In words that do not have the tone on the last syllable, a second pashta is placed over the tone syllable. Tohu, Genesis 1:2, but Genesis 1:5, Laor. Note, Bear, without sufficient authority, also repeats Segolta, Sarka, and the two Telishas, wherever these accents have otherwise not entitled to stand on the tone syllable. Shamata and Ishtecha, Genesis 3:11, Haares, Genesis 1:30, Vayiven, Genesis 2:22, instead of Shamata, Ishtecha, haaretz, and vayiven. B. A sign of interpunction. A distinction is made between disjunctive, distinctivi, masters, and conjunctive accents, conjunctivi, servants. The latter, indicating the close connection of their word with the following one, have all equal value for the understanding of the sentence. It is only for public cantillation of the sacred text that they have different values, one conjunctive demanding one height or modulation of the tone, another. If, on the other hand, a disjunctive is immediately repeated, the first has the greater disjunctive value. Genesis 21:6, 22:8. In the same way, the first of the two conjunctives standing together has the greater connecting power. 1. Greatest disjunctives. Siluk, under the tone syllable of the last word in every verse, always followed by sof pasuk, the sign of the end of the verse. Atnach divides the verse into two halves. Elohim, Genesis 1:1. In short verses, this is often done by certain other accents. Genesis 1:13, 19:23. Segulta, postposition. In longer verses, the main divider before Atnach. Always after Sarka. Harakia, Genesis 1:7, also Genesis 1:28, 2:23, and often. 2. Great disjunctives. Sakef katon, we find instead Sakef gadol, first when the first accent in the verse, Genesis 3:10, Vayomer, or half verse, Genesis 2:20, Uladam, but V'ha'adam, Genesis 4:1. Secondly, immediately after another Sakef, Genesis 2:9, Hagan v'es, see Genesis 1:14 and often. But Shunehem vayediu, Genesis 3:7. Revia often forms subdivisions in the Sakef sections. Elohim, Genesis 1:9, 14. 3. Small disjunctives. Pashta, postposition. La'or, Genesis 1:5, repeated when the word is not accented on the last syllable. Tohu, Genesis 1:2. For Pashta, yetiv, preposition, when no conjunctive precedes and the tone rests on the first consonant. Esem, Genesis 2:23. Af, Genesis 3:1. Tifra, the disjunctive next before Atnach and Siluk. Bereshit, Hashamayim, Genesis 1:1. Tevir, Elohim, Genesis 1:4. Sarka, postposition, always before Segulta. Elohim, Genesis 1:7. 4. Smallest disjunctives. Geresh or Asla, Hamayim, Genesis 1:21. Instead, double Geresh when the last syllable is accented and the conjunctive Kadma does not precede. Puri, Genesis 1:21. Le Ramé, always before Revia. Esev, Genesis 1:29. Paser, Haromeset, instead 16 times Karne Phara, always after the conjunctive Galgal. Vihoshua bin Nun, Joshua 19:51. Telisha Gedolah, great Telisha, prepositional, deshe, Genesis 1:12. 5. Conjunctive accents, merucha, eat, Genesis 1:1, instead 14 times double merucha, lo yayin, Genesis 27:25. Munach, bara, Genesis 1:1, darga, especially before tevir, wayari, Genesis 1:4, kadma, especially before geresh, yikavu, Genesis 1:9, mahpach, ben, Genesis 1:7, Telusha Ketanna, small Telusha, postpositional, Wayiven, paroxytonon, Genesis 2:22. 6. Rare accents are Shalshelet, with following pesik, for example, Waima'en, Genesis 39:8. One of the greatest disjunctives, only 7 times in the 21 books. Further, the conjunctives galgal, 16 times before karne farah, and me'aila, 16 times before adnach or siluk, generally to indicate the secondary tone. Wayise nach, Genesis 8:18. 7. 3 of the 24 books, that is, of the Old Testament, which is Psalms, Job, and Proverbs, have a different system of accentuation, generally called the metrical accents. In this there are 11 disjunctives, sinor postpositivum, deci prepositivum, 8 conjunctives, and 1 underservant. The disjunctives are, besides siluk, ole vöjoret, halves larger verses, Roshaim, Psalm 1:1, Adnach, halves smaller verses, Psalm 1:4, and in longer verses the part following ole vöjoret, Psalm 1:1. Great Revia, Ha'ish, Psalm 1:1. Sinor, postpositional, Halach, Psalm 1:1. Small Revia, immediately before ole vöjoret, Adonai, Psalm 1:2. Revia Muraj, that is, Revia with Geresh, before Siluk. V'hataim, Psalm 1:5. Great Shalshelet, Uchvodi, Psalm 7:6. Dechi, prepositional, Chataim, Psalm 1:1. Paser, Bekari, Psalm 4:2. Le Garme, either Mehupak, Le Garme, Aneni, Psalm 4:2, or Asla Le Garme, Adonai, Psalm 5:9. The conjunctives are Merecha, Munach, Iluch, Yitten, Psalm 1:3, Galgal, Tarcha, V'derech, Psalm 1:6, under the accented syllable, hence easily to be distinguished from Dechi, Mahpach, Asla, Shalshelet, Yeshuata, Psalm 3:3, only 8 times. In addition, an underservant, Sinorit, in an open syllable before Merucha and Mahpach. Yomam, Psalm 1:2, Kuma, Psalm 3:8. Chapter 8. Metek, Makef, Pesik. Metek, bridle, a small perpendicular line beneath the letters, thus same form as siluk, generally to left of the accompanying vowel, indicates the secondary tone, especially 1, in the second syllable before the tone when the syllable is open. Ha-adam, Genesis 2:15. Inichem, Genesis 3:5. If the syllable in question is closed, then metek stands in the third or even in the fourth syllable before the tone. Umehel-mehen, Genesis 4:4. Ha-arba'im, Genesis 18:29. Second, with long vowels when followed by schwa mobile and by the tone. Ha-yuta, Teoldot, Yeshufcha. Distinguish accordingly between Chachma and Chachma. 3. Before Chatef in open or open syllables. Ya'ale, He'ela, Ma'amat, Soakim, Genesis 4:10, Yözahav, Genesis 2:12. For Vav copulativum, chapter 46, 1 and 2 do not hold good, hence Ul Adam, Uvanot, Urvu, Genesis 1:22. Makef, a small horizontal stroke on the level with the top of the consonants, unites 2 to 4 words connected in sense more closely than is done by the serval accents, by making them one word as regards pronunciation and tone. Especially common with Makef are L, to, et, with, or sign of the determinative accusative. Call, totally, al, on, pen, lest, see the Greek proclitics, min, from, has always makef. Et kol pene, Genesis 2:6, ki erom, Genesis 3:10, metek according to chapter 8a1. Ve'et kol asher lo, Genesis 12:20. Pusik or pasek, stopper, a perpendicular line between 2 words, prevents 2 logically connected words from being pronounced too quickly in succession, as if they formed but a single word. Pusik is chiefly found 1. When the first word ends with the same consonant with which the following begins. Ha-chaya, ha-rumeset, Genesis 1:21. 2. When a word is repeated. Yom, yom, Genesis 39:10. 3. With the names of deity to secure a consciously reverent pronunciation. Elohim et, Genesis 1:27, to prevent the M being carried over to the following et, which would result in the word met, dead, being heard. Elohai Rasha, Psalm 139:19. After Begat Kefat, take Dagesh, even when preceded by a conjunctive accent. For example, Asu Kala, Genesis 18:21, Munach. Chapter 9. Kire and Ketiv. In not a few passages of the Holy Scriptures, a reading different from that furnished by the consonantal text was, for various reasons, traditional. Attention is called to these differences in printed editions and in most manuscripts by the consonants of the new reading, the kure, usually but falsely keri, being placed in the margin while the vowels belonging thereto are added to the original reading in the text, the ketiv, which remains unchanged, only the so-called circellus masoreticus being added as a mark of reverence. Genesis 8:17 we find in the text haf-se, on the margin hai-se kure, that is, instead of a traditional consonant hiv-se, which would have been pronounced ho-se, we have here to read hai-se. In the case of a few words of frequent occurrence, the marginal note and the mark of reference have been dispensed with, so-called curae perpetuum. Who, she, only in Pentateuch, curae, he, ketiv, who. Jerusalem, nomen proprium, curae, Jerusalem, ketiv, Jerusalem. Yishachar, nomen proprium, curae, Yishachar. Ketiv, doubtless, Yishsachar. Na'ara, maiden, only in Pentateuch, curae, Na'ara, ketiv, Na'ar. The numerical forms shunem, shutem, chapter 39 E3, are without doubt to be pronounced shune, shute. Ketiv, then shunayim, shutayim. The divine name Yod He Waw He, the proper pronunciation of which seems to be Yahweh, owing to his utterance being considered unlawful, has the vowels of Adonai, only Sheva for Chatef. Hence, Yehuah, in the same way with Min, chapter 44, Me-Wa, Me Adonai, but after the prefixes B, K, L, Waw, Ba Adonai, Ka Adonai, La Adonai, Wa Adonai. See chapter 10 C4. Read either Ba Adonai, etc., or Be Yahweh, etc. Should Adonai stand immediately beside Iota He Waw He, the latter receives the vowels of Elohim. For example, Elohim Adonai, Psalm 109:21. End of section 2. Section 3 of the Hebrew Grammar of Strack. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For further information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Hebrew Grammar by Hermann L. Strack, translated by A.R.S. Kennedy. Section 3, Chapter 10. Peculiarities of certain consonants. 1. The gutturals ein, che, he, aleph. 1. Not dagesh forte, but either virtual doubling, dagesh forte implicitum, it is simply the omission of the dagesh, or, chapter 11e, lengthening by way of compensation, the former in decreasing, the latter in increasing frequency with che, he, ein, aleph. Article, chapter 17, hayom, ha-choshech, ha-ir, ha-or. Verb, shaber, shahid, maher, but ma'in, shivartem, mihartem, but meantem. Me kutala, me tohara, but kutalt, ruchast. 2. Preference for the vowel a, chapter 4d, 28d, 60d, 65. Sometimes also for original e. For example, chef so, chapter 28l. 3. No chewa mobile but chatef, mostly chatef patach, with aleph for the kal before the tone syllable, generally chatef segol. Kevartem, avartem, amartem, but kevor, avor, amor. 4. The pronunciation of the gutturals in a closed pretonic and antipretonic syllable is often lightened by insertion of corresponding chatef, opening of the syllable, chapter 12o. Noun, malko, naaro, kotlo, paalo. Verb, chapter 65, feminine, masculine plural, ektol, eevor, yaktil, yaamid, yaktal, yaamat, wayaktel, wayaaver, wayaamen. 2. Resh. 1. Not dagesh forte, but always lengthening by way of compensation. Article hayom, harakia. Verb kitaltem, birachtem, katel, barich, mekutal, mevorach. 2. Preference for a, especially as preceding vowel. See chapter 60d. 3. Chatef patach for chewa mobile, especially in some verbs mediae resh. Chapter 65r beta. 3. Aleph. 1. At the end of a syllable and word, aleph completely loses its value as a consonant. Hence, alpha, without chewa, yaft, wayar, nerd, chet, and beta, the immediately preceding vowel is lengthened because now standing in an open syllable. Katal, massa, niktal, nimsa, katalta, masata. Chapter 75a. 2. A preceding chewa mobile is often absorbed by the long vowel of aleph. Ma'atayim, 200 for me'atayim. Rashim, heads for re'ashim. Note also, third infinitive emor, say, with le becomes lemor, to say, dicendo. 4. Elohim with the prefixes b, ke, le, v becomes Belohim, etc. Adonai retains after these prefixes the short vowel Badonai, Kadonai, etc. Hence, Ba-Yahweh, etc. See chapter 9b. Note, in the verbs prime gutturalis, aleph at the end of a syllable has consonantal value, can, therefore, have schwa quiescence. See chapter 65 HI. 4. He. He is elided in certain cases after schwa mobile. The vowel of he is then transferred to the preceding consonant. Article chapter 17e, verbs chapters 59d, 61e, 62a. 5. Vowel. 1. The soft semi-vocalic consonant vowel is merged in the homogeneous vowels o or u. Alpha, in the middle of a syllable, especially before a homogeneous vowel, whether preceded by a vowel or a schwa mobile. Cum, arise, imperfect, for quum, com, to arise, for quam, better, at the end of a syllable. Haktal, hurad, for huvrad, and under the influence of a preceding a, contraction, yaktilu, yoridu, for yavridu, chapter 68. Gamma, at the end of a word after another consonant. Tohu, for tohvu. Delta, vowel copulative, chapter 46. 2. Original vowel at the beginning of a word has in most cases passed into yod. Yalat, peperit, for walad, see chapter 68a. 3. Transition of vowel to yod in the verbs mediae yod, mediae vowel yod, see chapter 72a. 4. Complete expulsion of vowel in the verbs mediae vowel, see chapter 71 f, g, alpha, l. 6. Yod. 1. Yod is merged in a homogeneous long vowel, alpha, at the end of a syllable, end of a word, after I in I. Yitav for yitav. Bihuda for bihuda. After a, often contraction to e. Yaktil, yetiv for yaitiv. Chapter 69b. Suse, status constructus plural, chapter 21e, but with suffixes still sometimes susai, chapter 22f. Better, at the end of a word after another consonant, which has then to give up its vowel in I. Puri, fruit, for pari. Chapter 30. Ani, misery, for oni. Yuhi and yuhi, see chapter 76b-c. 2. Compare besides chapters 31, 74. 7. Nun. Nun is assimilated to the following consonant, except when that consonant is a guttural or resh. Alpha, in the verbs prime nun, yiktol, yippol, for yinpol. Hiktil, hippil. See chapter 67a. Beta, also the final nun, the verb natan, give. For example, katalt, natat, kötaltem, nötatem, niktaltem, nitatem. Gamma, often in prose, almost without exception, in min. For example, mikedem for min and kedem. Delta in those nouns of the form katl, kittel, kuttel, whose second radical is nun. See chapter 26a-b. Chapter 11. Changes of vowels. 1. Vowels are unchangeable. 1. When they are long, either by nature or as o in kochav, star, for kafkav, from kafkaf, with contraction, as e, u in most cases o, and also e. 2. In a doubly closed syllable, chapter 12e, for example, e in mikdash, sanctuary, mikdeshe el, the sanctuaries of God, and in kikar, circuit, kikar hayarden he perichoros tu Jordanu. 3. In syllables with virtual doubling, mihartem. 4. When lengthening by way of compensation has taken place before the guttural or resh, mein, meantem. Note, exception to 2, accented patach is often in pause lengthened to kames. See chapters 60f, 61d. 2. Changeable, that is, may be shortened or in certain cases entirely dropped, are 1. Vowels made long by the tone long vowels, especially a and e in nouns. Chapter 24. Mikdash, oyev, enemy, plural, oivim. E and o in verbs, kittel, he has murdered, plural, kitlu, yiktol, he will kill, plural, yiktulu. 2. Pretonic vowels, that is, vowels originally short, which are lengthened owing to their position in an open syllable before the tone. Davar, word, plural, duvarim. Enav, grape, plural, anavim. Katal, nekawit. Kytaltem, nekawistis. 3. Dropping and shortening of vowels. A. In the noun in an open syllable. 1. When the tone is thrown forward by an affirmative or status constructus, the vowel that stood in the syllable before the tone is dropped. Nasi, prince. Nusi haares, the prince of the land. Plural nesiim. Nusi ehem, principes eorum. Nativ, path. Feminine, nutiva, do. 2. If 2 vowels are changeable, that vowel is dropped which, when the tone is moved forward, will stand in the second syllable before the tone. The vowel preceding the one just referred to, because now in a loosely closed, unaccented syllable, chapter 12q, is shortened, a being often thinned to e. Kanaf, wing. Kynafo, his wing. Kan fehem, ale eorum. Davar, word. Devaro, his word. Difrehem, verba eorum. For the treatment of changeable vowels in a shut syllable, see the chapter of the forms, especially chapters 24, 25. B. In the verb, the vowel of the second radical is dropped before accented affirmative beginning with a vowel. For example, the vowel of a syllable immediately before the tone. Noun, chacham, sophos. Chachama, sophē. Verb, chacham, he is wise. Chachma, she is wise. noun, yakar, precious, masculine, yakara, feminine. Yakar, he is precious. Yakra, she is precious. Exceptions, see chapter 50a. Before accented affirmatives beginning with a consonant, chapter C applies. Katal, kutaltem, kutalticha, nekawite. 4. Compensation. Lengthening appears wherever a dagesh required by the grammatical form has been omitted, a being lengthened to a, I to e, u to o. 1. When virtual doubling has not taken place, always before gutturals or resh, examples chapter 10a1b1. 2. At the end of a word, chapter 6f1. A, however, remains in most cases unlengthened, for example, em for im, chuk for chuk, gan for gan. See chapters 26b, 73a, 74s. 5. Of the remaining vowel changes, the most important are those affecting patach. 1. Patach in an unaccented closed syllable very frequently becomes I. In the strong verb, regularly in yiktol, niktal, kittel, hiktil. In the noun, see divrei Yosef, the words of Joseph, for davrei. Divrehem from davar, chapter 25b. Pitya from Pat, chapter 26d gamma. Sitki from Satk, chapter 28a. 2. Patach becomes segol before cha and cho, and before unaccented ha and a, when the guttural is virtually doubled. Achai, my brothers. Echai, luchavot for lahavot, flames. Lachavot esh, flames of fire. More examples, chapter 17c. Exception, Hera, to the mountain, Genesis 14:10 for Hara. 6. Rise of new vowels. 1. The prefixes b, k, l, w before a guttural with chatef receive the corresponding short vowel. B and Edom becomes Be'edom. So Le'edom, Ve'edom. Chali and L becomes Lachali. Wachali, Asher and V becomes Ba'asher. So Ka'asher, La'asher, Wa'asher. Exceptions, Lemur, Belohim, Ba'adonai, Ba'Yahweh, Wa'adonai, etc. See chapter 10c. 2. B, K, L, chapter 45. Before Shua receive the vowel I. Devar Adonai, the word of Yahweh. Bitvar, Kidvar, Lidvar, syllable loosely closed. See chapter 12r. The following yod quiesces in I, chapter 10f alpha. B and Yehuda becomes Bihuda. So, too, after vowel copulativum, Vihuda. 3. Vowel copulativum before Shua and the labials, Bet, Waw, Mim, P becomes U. Udbar, Adonai, Uwayit, Umelech, Upal. Chapter 46. Note before lip sounds the Babylonian punctuation waw with rafe, that is v. 4. In the syllable before the tone not only are originally short vowels lengthened, but even new vowels appear. Alpha, under the prefixes v, k, and especially l, see chapter 45. B, under waw copulativum at the end of a sentence or part of a sentence, that is, after a large disjunctive and with words occurring in pairs. Yom wa layla, day and night. Tov wa ra, good and evil. Lechem wa mayim, bread and water. See Genesis 8:22. 5. In two consonants end, except at, though feminine, and second feminine singular perfect, katalt, etc., only a few forms from weak verbs, chapter 74, ot, a few words ending in aleph, s, shav, chet, and nard, kosht, truth. In all other cases, the pronunciation is facilitated by the insertion of a helping vowel, generally shegol. Hence, the expression shegolat forms in the case of gutturals mostly patach after iod, e. For details, see chapters 27 to 30, 36a, 65, 74. Chapter 12. Of the syllable. Commencement of a syllable. Silbenanlaut. Every syllable, and hence every word, must begin with one consonant. That is, neither with a vowel, or, single exception, see chapter 11, G3, nor with two consonants. If the first consonant of a syllable, or a word, has no vowel of its own, it receives schwa mobile, chapter 5c, or with achach, chatef, chapters 5d, 10a3. Close of a syllable, Silbenauslaut, a distinction is made between 1. Open syllables, or those ending with a vowel, kumu, asita, oto, shana. He, see chapter 2b. They have always a long vowel. Exception, the verbal suffix ani, chapter 79e. Syllables ending in aleph are regarded as open. Katal, massa. See, however, chapter 10c note. Unaccented syllables with a long vowel are open. The following schwa is schwa mobile. Shomerim. 2. Shut syllables, or those ending in a consonant. Katal, second syllable. They are called doubly shut, when the consonant closing the syllable is immediately followed by another consonant in the same word. Miswa, first syllable. Katalt, second syllable. If the two consonants are identical, or have been made so, that is, if the vowel is followed by a consonant with dagesh, the syllable may also be termed sharpened. Hashishi, syllable 1 and 2. Unaccented, shut syllables have always a short vowel. Mavdil, first. Yulat, first. Wayakam, 1, 3. Wayamet, 1, 3. Unaccented syllables with a short vowel are shut. Chazdu, 1. In an accented shut penultima, we find only following vowels. Alpha, the tone-long vowels a, e, o. Yama, yaronu, 2. Hence, neither e or u, nor yet the essentially, that is, by nature or by contraction, long vowels a, e, o. Better, the short vowels a, e. Katalta, mimenu. In an accented shut ultima, all long vowels may appear. Of the short vowels a and e, sometimes even e, especially the two particles im, if, im, with, which, however, are often, as min, always, made toneless by makef, and the form vayishp, chapter 74 o alpha. 3. Opened syllables, that is, syllables whose originally double close has been removed by a helping vowel, 1, at the end of a word. Generally, a helping vowel, see chapter 11 I, in most cases Segol, though also, especially when the last letter, or the last but one, is a guttural, patach. The accented vowel of the opened syllable is then in the most cases lengthened. See o, u to o. Kodesh, rohav, orach, I to e. Sefer, Shema, a to e. Melech, Zera. See chapter 28 c, d. If the last letter but one is a guttural, patach remains in the opened syllable unchanged. Na'ar, da'at, tochachat, chapter 36a, waya'al, chapter 74 o epsilon. If the last letter but one is yod, chirek is used as helping vowel. Patach remains in an opened syllable. Ayin, chapter 29a. Also, in the suffix form yich, for example, Elohayich, and in the dual ending im, ayim. In the epicopated imperfects of the verbs tertiae he, the lengthening of I to E is often dispensed with. See chapter 74 o gamma, for example, yigel for yigl. 2. In the middle of a word, the consonant closing the syllable, if a guttural, frequently receives, for ease of pronunciation, the chatef corresponding to the preceding vowel, without this vowel being lengthened. Examples chapter 10a4. Na'aro in syllables na'aro. The vowel remains unlengthened even when, instead of chatef, owing to its being followed by a shva, the corresponding short vowel is written. See chapter 5f. Yechezak, plural, yechezku. Divide. Yechezku, yachalom, plural, yachalmu, yachalmu. 4. Loosely shut syllables. We call such syllables as were originally followed by a vowel, which has been dropped in accordance with the general laws in chapters 11c2 and 11d. That a syllable is loosely closed may be recognized by the fact that begat kefat retain their aspiration. the schwa is not vocal is not schwa mobile. Examples to Chapter 11c2. Kanaf, kan pehem, kan fehem. Chapter 25a. Mülachim for Malachim. Malchehem, Chapter 28h. Chorbotayich, Chorbotayich, Chapter 35a. To Chapter 11d. Ya'amot, plural, Ya'amedu. Yecherad, plural, Yecheredu. Ne'esaf, plural, Ne'esefu. See Chapter 65 FHK. To the class of loosely shut syllables belong also such syllables as arise from the addition of the prefixes b, k, l to words whose first consonant is pointed with schwa. Lidbar, Chapter 11g2. Exception: l before infinitive kal. See Chapter 55d. Very seldom do we find a loosely shut syllable where no vowel has been dropped. See Chapter 28q. See also Habaita, Chapter 29a. Complete closure of a syllable contrary to a rule in Barkat, Chapter 34d alpha. Herpot, Chapter 35c. See also B'Shavkucha, Chapter 55d. Chapter 13. Of the tone. The principal tone in Hebrew rests generally on the last syllable. On the penultima, almost exclusively in the following cases: 1. When the last vowel is a helping vowel, Chapter 11i, hence in the dual, for example, Shunatayim, biennium. 2. Before kames with the following he locale, Chapter 20c, Ashura to Assyria. 3. Before the suffix nu, for example, Malkenu, our king. Shelachanu, misitnos, and before a few other suffixes. See Chapters 22, 79h. 4. The verbal forms ending in ta, ti, nu, perfect, na, imperfect, imperative. In the hifil also those in a, kames with following he, u, i. Katalta, katalnu, hiktila, yaktilu. 5. In the verbs medie vau and tertie geminate, the endings a, kames with following he, u, i, even in the other conjunctions, for example, kum, kama, she has risen, kamu, they have risen, kumi, arise, imperative feminine. 6. In a number of forms of the imperfect without affirmatives when vau consecutivum is prefixed. Chapter 64 g, k to n. 7. Several times in pause. See Chapter 14 g, h, e. 8. Frequently also to avoid the concurrence of two tone syllables. In a word with open penultima and long open or short closed ultima, when immediately followed by a monosyllable or by a word with the accent on the first syllable, the tone is generally shifted back to the penultimate syllable. Kara Laila, Genesis 1:5. Tochal Lechem, Genesis 3:19. Amat Sham, Genesis 19:27. Note 1. Thus, retrogression of the tone does not take place with a closed penultimer or from a long vowel in the closed ultimer, with the occasional exception of sere. Afar ata dost art thou, Genesis 3:19. Nor yet when the first word ends with a heavy suffix, nor when the distinctness of pronunciation would be affected. Shelusha ile. These three. Genesis 9:19. Lo yikare od. Genesis 17:5. Sere, when deprived of the tone in a closed ultimer, either receives metek, Navel sees, Jesaja 14:7-8, or is shortened to segol, see chapter 59f. Note 2. The tone never rests on the antepenultimer. Jesaja 14:18, 58, Job 12:15 are only apparent exceptions, to be explained according to chapters 5f, 12p, against Delitzsch on Jesaja 14:18 and in the preface to Bear's edition of Job, page 6. Chapter 14 of the pause. 1. At the end of sentences and of larger divisions of a sentence, many changes take place in the accentuation and the vocalization, which are occasioned partly by general considerations of rhythm, partly by a special regard for the solemn recitation of the sacred text. 2. These changes appear uniformly with siluk, segolta, shalshelet, and atnach, often with zakkev in the books of Psalms, Job, Proverbs, chapter 7l, always with siluk, ole v'yoret, and in smaller verses with atnach, often with atnach after ole v'yoret, rarely with other accents. 3. The pausal effects are not the same for all accents. Ata, though masculine, for example, appears with siluk, atnach, and ole v'yoret as atta, with sakev and atnach after ole v'yoret as atta. See Genesis 3:19, Psalm 2:7. 1. Lengthening of the vowel. Alpha. Especially frequent is the change of patach to kames. Mayim, water, mayim. Laila, night, laila. Yasar, Pfingsit, Yassar. Shamarti, Shamarti. Zachart, Zachart. Yalatnu, Yalatnu. In shegolate forms, chapter 28g, Na'ar, boy, Na'ar, and in the same way, Eres, because ground form Ars, Ares. Zera, seed, Zara. Better, patach and segol in the ground form of the perfect piel become sere. Milat, milet. Diber, he has spoken, diber, chapter 60d e. Note, monosyllables with patach remain in most cases unchanged. Bat, Genesis 30:21, at, Genesis 49:27. 2. Vowel changes. Sere sometimes becomes patach. Hefer, fregit. Hefar, Jelech, ibit, Vayelach. Yikatel Wayigamal, and he was weaned. Better, Sere becomes Kames in the perfect, imperative, imperfect Hitpael, because there originally A. Chapter 62d Gamma. Gamma, Cholem sometimes becomes Kames. Ka'asher, Shachalti, Shacholti, Genesis 43:14. Oz, Genesis 49:3. Yitrov, Genesis 49:27. 3. Retrogression of the tone. Anochi, I, Anochi, Ata, Aru, Leiber, Psalm 137:7. 4. Retrogression of the tone with lengthening of the vowel. Ata, Ata, Ata now, Ata. 5. Retrogression of the tone with restoration or and lengthening of a vowel that has been reduced to schwa. Alpha, especially frequent in the verbs. See chapter 11d. Natan, he has given, feminine, natuna, natana. Male, he is full, plural, malu, maleu. Yishmor, he will keep, plural, yishmeru, yishmoru. Shema, here, imperative, plural, shim'u, shema'u. Yulat, he was born, plural, yuledu, yuladu. Better, in masculine shegolate forms from tertiary he stems, chapter 30c, for example, puri, fruit, originally pari, chapter 10f beta, peri, chali, sickness, choli. Gamma, before the suffix cha, thy, the, masculine. Davar, devarecha, thy word. Devarecha. Yishmor, yishmarcha, he will keep thee. Yishmerecha. Before the full endings of the imperfect un and in, the reduced vowel is restored in pause as a long vowel without retrogression of the tone. Yilkotul, tirbakin. 7. In the imperfect, the accent with a vowel consecutivum has drawn to the penultimate syllable is restored to the ultima, whereby certain vowel changes are occasioned. See chapter 64 G M. End of section 3. Section 4 of a Hebrew grammar by Strack. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For further information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Hebrew Grammar by Hermann L. Strack. Translated by A.R.S. Kennedy. Chapter 15, Personal Pronoun, especially the pronomen separatum. I, Ani, Anochi. Thou, Ata. Remark, 5 times Getipp defektive at, end of remark. feminine at. Remark, 7 times ketib ati, read ati, originally with the ending in. See chapter 51b, 53b. End of remark. He, who, she, he. Remark, in the Pentateuch often hu ketib, kyrie perpetuum, see chapter 9b. End of remark. We, nachnu, anachnu. Remark, once ketib anu. End of remark. You, atem. Remark, originally you in the second syllable. See chapter 51b. End of remark. Feminine Athen, Athena. They, him, hima. Feminine hinna. Remark, hen without demonstrative a, only after prefixes, for example, bahen, see chapter 45. End of remark. Forms in pause, anochi, ani, ata, chapter 14c, anachnu. Arabic forms, singular first ana, second anta, feminine anti, third huwa, feminine hiya, plural first nachnu, second antum, feminine antunna, third hum, feminine hunna, dual antuma, huma. The forms enumerated in this chapter express the nominative case only. The other cases are indicated in part by very much shortened modifications which are attached to the word qualified and unite with it to form one whole, suffix pronouns, generally for shortness suffixes. The suffixes attached to nouns denote the genitive, those joined to verbs the accusative. For details on the nominal suffix see chapter 22, on the verbal suffix chapters 78 and the following. On the suffixes to particles see chapters 40 and the following. Chapter 16. The remaining pronouns. The demonstrative pronoun is se, this, feminine sot, plural communis ele. Examples of its use see chapter 17h. Hayom, ha se, this day, se hayom, this is the day. Hat varim ha ele, these words. Ele b'nei Shem, these are the sons of Shem. Secondary forms in the Pentateuch: ha-ish halazeh, this man, Genesis 24:65. He-arim ha-el, these towns, Genesis 19:25. Note 1. Se also as adverb, 1 here, 2 now. Note 2. The separate pronoun of the third person is also used as demonstrative pronoun. Ha-ish ha-hu, that man. The three forms of the relative pronoun, asher, zu, poetic, and she, especially North Israelitish and late, stand for all numbers and genders. The very common asher serves in fact as nota relationis. Hence it confers, in the first place, relative signification to following pronouns and adverbs. For example, bo in him, asher bo in which, sham there, asher sham where. See chapter 21h. Secondly, it is used in place of some conjunctions: that, because, when. See chapter 87. The interrogative pronoun mi, who, ma, what, is sometimes used also for the indefinite pronoun quisquis, quicunque. Note: ma retains kames with disjunctive accents. Further, always before aleph and resh, generally before he, when this letter has not kames. Before non-gutturals we write ma followed by dagesh and usually makef. Ma luchar, ma lach. Before ha, ta, a, sometimes also at the beginning of a sentence, the pointing is me. See chapter 11f2. Me hatati and me hasita, Genesis 29. Mi se, ma sot, see chapter 42g. Chapter 17. A. The article in Hebrew, as also for example in Greek, was originally a demonstrative pronoun. See hayom, this day, today, Genesis 4:14. Halayla, this night, Genesis 19:34. Hapa'am, this time, at last, Genesis 2:23. Ka'et machar, tomorrow at this time. Note: this pronominal force also shows itself when the article is joined to the finite verb. Haba'a, Genesis 18:21, 46:27, see chapter 76h. Beno hanulat lo, his son that was born to him, Genesis 21:3. See also hashok v'hi'alea, the thigh and what was thereon, the fat, 1 Samuel 9:24. As shown by examples just quoted, the article is usually written ha followed by dagesh forte. The dagesh is dropped according to chapter 6f, especially when y or a participle pl follows. Haibusi, haikum, hamargelim. When followed by a guttural, chapter 10a1, the article takes alpha, segol, before unaccented ha and a, as also before cha and cho, chapter 11f2. Heharim, he'arim, he'awon, he'chag, he'chacham, he'chadashim. Beta, kames, before ein in the other cases, and always before aleph, resh. For example, ha'am, ha'evet, ha'avadim, ha'or, ha'ra'av. Gamma, before he and che in the other cases, for example, hahu, ha'ichal, ha'chachama, ha'chachachma, ha'chodesh. Exceptions: to beta, iwer, blind takes ha to gamma, ha-har, the mountain, ha-hara, towards the mountain. Ha-hem and ha-hema, those. Ha-chai, the living one. Genesis 6:19. Eres, earth, country, with the article becomes ha-ares. On har, par, am, see chapter 26, c epsilon. After the prefixes b, k, l, chapter 45, the he of the article is elided together with the preceding schwa. Hamayim, the water, bamayim, in the water, lumayim, to the water, kumayim, like the water, haor, the light, laor, to the light, ha-choshech, the darkness, la-choshech, to the darkness, he-ashan, the smoke, ke-ashan, like the smoke. Exception, ke-hayom, 8 times, Genesis 39:11, etc. B. Use of the article. The article in Hebrew differs from the article in English in being found 1. With well-known material and class names. Abram was very rich, bamikneh, bakesef, uvazahav, in cattle, in silver, and in gold. Genesis 13:2. Pitchit ba-kofer, with pitch. Genesis 6:14. 2. With many abstract nouns, especially with physical and moral defects. Struck them, basanverim, with blindness. Genesis 19:11. 3. Frequently with names of towns when the recollection of the appellative signification was still preserved. Ha'ai, harama. 4. With the vocative of nouns otherwise qualified to receive it. Ha-melech, O king. 5. With comparisons when the tertium comparationis is regarded as attribute of the class to which the object employed in the comparison belongs. He staggers, ka-shikor, because all drunken men stagger, like a drunken man. Isaiah 1:18. If our sins be red, ka-shanim, like scarlet, they shall become white, ka-shelek, as snow. If they be red, ka-tula, like crimson, they shall become ka-semer, like wool. See Edward Riem on Psalm 17:12 in Hermann Hupfeld, Die Psalmen 1, 445-446. The article is not employed, however, when the tertium comparationis is affirmed of only a part of the class. The article does not stand 1. Before substantives that are determined by a following genitive or suffix. Devar Adonai, the word of Yahweh. Devari, ho logos mu. 2. Often in poetry. Psalm 2:2, Eres, but after b, k, l, usually as in prose. Bamishpat, Psalm 1:5. Bashamayim, Psalm 2:4. The article with adjectives. Ha'ir Hagdolah, the great city. So usually with the demonstrative pronoun. Ha'ish hazeh, this man. Balailahu on that night, Genesis 19:35, though also Balailahu, Genesis 19:33, and others, doubtless for reasons of euphony. Mishbuati zot, from this my oath, Genesis 24:8. End of section 4. Section 5 of a Hebrew Grammar by Hermann L. Strack. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For further information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Hebrew Grammar by Hermann L. Strack. Translated by A.R.S. Kennedy. Chapter 18. Gender. The Hebrew language has no special forms for the neuter. Where other languages use the neuter, we find in Hebrew mostly the feminine plural, and not unfrequently the masculine plural or feminine singular. For example, Bah eda, thereby shall I know, Genesis 24:14. Note: the masculine, as the superior gender, stands not unfrequently for the feminine, especially in the suffix pronouns. Sitmum, they stopped them. The wells haberot, feminine, Genesis 26:15. Avichem, your father. Leah and Rachel are addressed, Genesis 31:9. The masculine singular has no termination. The old termination tau of the feminine singular is still preserved, alpha, after u and i. Galut, edut, misrit, burit. Better, when a helping vowel, shegol or patach, chapter 36a, has been inserted after the immediately preceding consonant. Ma'achelet, knife, for ma'achalt. Tochachat, reproof, for tochacht, especially in participles. Yoledet, a woman in childbirth, for yolat. Gamma, seldom as at in barkat, emerald, and in proper names sarpat, givat. The tau of the old ending at has been in almost all cases dropped, the a, now standing in an open syllable, lengthened to a, and, as an indication of this, he, rendered superfluous, however, by the introduction of the vocalization, added as mater lectionis, see chapter 2b. Miswa, commandment, for miswat, see chapter 21d. Chapter 19. Number. Besides the singular and plural, there is also a dual in Hebrew, which is formed almost exclusively, however, from names of things that occur in pairs. The ending of the dual is ayim, raglayim, feet, alpayim, 2000. The masculine plural ending is im, also defective im. The feminine ot, also defective ot. Ed, witness, edim, davar, devarim, goy, people, goyim, pronounced goyim, sadik, righteous, Sadikim, Sadikim, and Sadikim. Sukkah, booth, Sukkot, and Sukkot. Note 1. Many words with the termination of the feminine singular have im in the plural, for example, Shana, year, Shanim. Vice versa, Av, father, Avot, Chalom, Chalomot. Note 2. The plural in Hebrew not only denotes a numerical plurality, but also serves to indicate other relations, especially in the case of abstract nouns. Note further the internally multiplying plural, for example, Adon, Lord, Adonim, lords and lord. Adonenu, our Lord, see German unsere Herrschaft, 1 Samuel 25:14. Chapter 20, Case. Hebrew had originally 3 case endings. See in Arabic, Al-Kitabu, nominative, the book, Kitabun, a book, Arajulu, the man, Kitabu Rajuli, the book of the man. Genitive, Al-Kitabi, the book, Kitabin, a book, Arajuli, the man. Accusative, Al-Kitaba, the book, Kitaban, a book, Arajula, the man. Note, if the genitive is determined, that means is a proper name or has the article, the nomen regens is regarded in Hebrew as in Arabic as likewise determined. In biblical Hebrew, these endings are preserved only in a locale and as meaningless affix syllables, for the most part as archaisms in the poetry. Alpha, a of direction, see our suffix ward, almost always unaccented. Misraim, Egypt, Misraima, to Egypt. Bait, Habaita, to the house. Eres, Arsa Canaan, to the land of Canaan. Remark, Canaan has dagesh forte conjunctivum, see chapter 6e better. End of remark. Ha-Chusa, Ha-Negeba, Ha-Shamaima, Ha-Hara. Entirely meaningless is the ending a, for example in Laila, night. Modern Greek, Inychtha. Better, o and I, especially in the status constructus, see chapter 21a. V'haito eres, Genesis 1:24. Beno beor, Numeri 24:3. Genufti, Genesis 31:39. Beni en Osri, Genesis 49:11. Malkisedek, Genesis 14:18. Hence, in many cases, for example, always in the masculine singular of nouns with unchangeable vowels, the genitive and accusative are quite the same as the nominative. Examples: alpha, genitive. Shen, ivory. Kiseh Shen, a throne of ivory. Kiseh Dawid, the throne of David. Yoser, potter. Kli Yoser, a potter's vessel. Hana'ar, the boy. Kol Hana'ar, the boy's voice. Better, accusative. Masa Ezer, he found help. Isharati, a man have I slain. Vaichal Mulach To, and he finished his work. Nasachti Malki, I have appointed my king. The determined accusative is often, especially in prose, indicated by prefixing et or et. In the beginning, God created et hashamayim vet haares, en shiber et kain. Thou hast scattered et kol oivai, all my foes. Chapter 21. A. The construct state. In expressions such as the voice of the boy, a vessel of a potter, the second substantive, the genitive, as the subject to which something is assigned, has the main tone or stress. The first word, the nominative, is pronounced more rapidly with less stress. This explains the fact that in Hebrew the first substantive is, if possible, shortened, especially in regard to its vocalization. The rule chapter 11c is here applied as if the nominative were unaccented and the second word a monosyllable or had the accent on the first syllable. Nagid, prince. Nugid Sor, the prince of Tyre. Further examples see below. The first member of such a connection, indeed, every noun, the nomen regens, closely connected with the following word, stands in the status constructus, construct state. Status absolutus, absolute state, is the name used to designate the unshortened form of the noun when not intimately connected with the following word. In consequence of the intimate relation of the first word to the genitive, the old ending at, see chapter 18c gamma, has maintained itself in the status constructus of the feminine singular in place of the later a. Miswa, miswat Adonai, the commandment of Yahweh. The status constructus of the masculine plural ends in e, formerly I, see chapter 10f alpha. Gibor, Giborei Moav, the heroes of Moab. Kochav, plural, Kochavim, constructus, Kochve Hashamayim, the stars of heaven. Chacham, plural, Chachamim, constructus, Chachme Pharao, Pharaoh's wise man. Remark: Pharao is regarded as tone syllable according to B. Me syllable before the tone. Cha loses its vowel according to chapter 11c2. Finally, the vowel of che must be short because now standing in a shut unaccented syllable. End of remark. The ending of the status constructus of the dual is the same. Enayim, Ene Adonai, the eyes of Yahweh. Raglayim, Ragle Haish, the feet of the man. In feminine plural, the ending of the status constructus is the same as that of the status absolutus. Miswa, ha-miswot, the commandments. Miswot Adonai, the commandments of Yahweh. B. Use of the construct state. The status constructus serves to indicate not only the subjective but also the objective genitive. Yirat Adonai, the fear of, one feels towards Yahweh. Za'akat Sodom, the cry regarding of Sodom, Genesis 18:20. Before suffixes, chapter 22b, Hamaso, his wrong, Psalm 7:17. Hamasi, the wrong towards me, Genesis 16:5. The status constructus can likewise stand 1 before prepositions. Achat mimenu, one of us, Genesis 3:22. Simchat bakasir, the joy in the harvest, especially after a participle. Yoshve ba, Psalm 24:1. Mashkime baboker, Jesaja 5:11. Mishtaela, Genesis 24:21. 2 before relative clauses that stand virtually in the genitive. Mekom asher Yosef asur sham, the place where Joseph was bound, Genesis 40:3, especially with such as are not introduced by asher. For example, Beyom hisil Adonai oto, on the day in which Yahweh had saved him, Psalm 18:1. Kiryat Chana Dawit, the city where David had encamped, Jesaja 29:1. More in chapter 87h.m. End of section 5. Section 6 of a Hebrew grammar by Strack. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For further information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Hebrew Grammar by Hermann L. Strack, translated by A.R.S. Kennedy. Chapter 22. The noun with unchangeable vowels. Paradigm on page 40 and the following. The derivation of the suffixa nominis from the pronomen absolutum is particularly well seen in the first plural. With edenu and edenu compare anu. This example shows at the same time that the pronoun, on being affixed, is mutilated at the beginning. See patermu with pateremu. With the change of tau to kaf in the second person, ata, cha, atem, chem, compare the reverse change in the inflection of the verb, chapter 51c. The nominal suffixes denote the genitive and are attached to the status constructus, see chapter 21f. Forms like mikdashecha, chapter 24a, mulachenu, chapter 28g, are only apparent exceptions. A distinction is made between light and heavy suffixes. The heavy suffixes are chem, chen, hem, hen. Between the singular noun ending in a consonant and such suffixes as begin with a consonant, there is generally inserted a union vowel, Bindevokal, see chapter 79e. This vowel is e with suffix, second feminine singular, edech and first plural edenu, a with suffix, third person, edo, o from ahu, eda, edam, am from ahem, edan and second masculine singular in pause, edecha, chapter 14e gamma, echa half lengthening for aha. Cheval mobile with suffix second masculine singular, educha, hence miswatucha, with kames. The union vowel has often been completely dropped before the heavy suffixes. Miswatchem, miswatchen. In educhem, cheval mobile, because the vowel of the stem is unchangeable. Note: chem, chen retain their aspirated pronunciation even after a shut syllable, contrary to chapter 6a. Nachalatchem, see German Papachen alongside of machen. Forms without union vowel, singular second person feminine ch, third masculine hu and wu, third feminine ha, plural first nu, third masculine hem, third feminine han, are appended to av, ach, ham, pe, whose status constructus ends in a vowel, chapter 38. Likewise, in part for the same reason, to nouns from tertiae he stems, chapters 30c, 31. Finally, always to the status constructus of the masculine plural. In appending suffixes to masculine plurals, the old forms of the status constructus ai is taken as the ground form. Edai, edaich, edav. Before the second masculine singular and the third feminine singular, it becomes e. Edecha, edeha. Before the suffixes of the plural, e, edenu, etc. In appending suffixes to the plurals in ot, a twofold indication of the plural is found almost without exception. See a masculine in addition to the feminine ending, miswotai instead of miswot and i, ai, entolaimu. Only the suffixes, third plural, am, an, are attached quite as frequently to the simple plural ending ot. We find always chemotam, chemotan, dorotam, mostly avotam, patres eorum suos, not till later avotehem. Only the following have a special form in pause: first singular and second feminine singular in the plural and dual, enai, enai, enaich, enaich, as also second masculine singular, kolecha, kolecha. Rare forms of suffixes in singular, alpha, second masculine singular, cha, for cha, according to chapter 2b, yaducha, thy hand, see lucha, boacha, chapter 76h. Better, third masculine singular, hu, especially luminehu for lumino, after its kind, union vowel e. Re'ehu, his neighbor, because rea is a contraction from re'e. O, etymological spelling for o, for example, ahalo, his tent. Gamma, third feminine singular, sometimes a, for ah. Delta, first plural, anu, Thus, always kulanu, Genesis 42:11 and elsewhere, see lanu, chapter 45b. Epsilon, third masculine plural, poetically helbamo, their fat, Pyriamo, their fruit, Pimo, their mouth. See Lamo, chapter 45c. Yevahalemu, chapter 79c. Zeder, third feminine plural, Kirbena, their inward part. Genesis 41:21. Leyachmena, infinitive PL, Genesis 30:41. Kulana, et al., literally summa earum, feminine is neuter, chapter 18a. Levadana, Genesis 21:29. Levadehen, Genesis 21:28. Rare forms of suffixes in the plural, alpha, third masculine plural, avotemo, moserotemo, Psalm 2:3. Better, written defective, that means with omission of the yod, for example, devarecha, thy words, for devarecha, often not to be distinguished from devarecha, thy word, pause form of devarecha, luminehem, Genesis 1:21, umehelvehen, Genesis 4:4. Ed, witness, singular, ed sheker, a lying witness, literally testis mendacii, that means testis mendax. First singular, edi, my witness. Second masculine singular, edocha, thy witness. Second feminine singular, edich, thy witness. Third masculine singular, edo, his witness. Third feminine singular, edah, her witness. First plural, edenu, our witness. Second masculine plural, edochem, your witness. Second feminine plural, edochen, your witness. Third masculine plural, edam, their witness. Third feminine plural, edan, their witness. Plural, edim, witnesses. Ede sheker, lying witnesses. First singular, edai, my witnesses. Second masculine singular, edecha, thy witnesses. Second feminine singular, edaich, thy witnesses. Third masculine singular, edav, his witnesses. Third feminine singular, edea, her witnesses. First plural, edenu, our witnesses. Second masculine plural, edichem, your witnesses. Second feminine plural, edichen, your witnesses. Third masculine plural, edihen, their witnesses. Third feminine plural, edihen, their witnesses. Miswa, commandment. Singular, miswat Adonai, the commandment of Yahweh. First singular, miswati, my commandment. Second masculine singular, miswatucha, thy commandment. Second feminine singular, miswatich, thy commandment. Third masculine singular, miswato, his commandment. Third feminine singular, miswatah, her commandment. First plural, miswatenu, our commandment. Second plural, masculine, miswatuchem, your commandment. Second feminine plural, miswatuchen, your commandment. Third masculine plural, miswatam, their commandment. Third feminine plural, miswatan, their commandment. Plural, miswot, commandments. Miswot Adonai, the commandment of Yahweh. First singular, miswotai, my commandments. Second masculine singular, miswotecha, thy commandments. Second feminine singular, miswotaich, thy commandments. Third masculine singular, miswotav, his commandments. Third feminine singular, miswotea, her commandments. First plural, miswotenu, our commandments. Second masculine plural, miswotichem, your commandments. Second feminine plural, miswotichen, your commandments. Third masculine plural, miswotam, their commandments. Third feminine plural, miswotan, their commandments. Chapter 23. Masculines with changeable vowel in the penultima. See the phonetic law, chapter 11, C1. Nasi, Nusi Haares, the prince of the land. Nusim, Nusie Israel, Nusiea, with final guttural, alpha. Patach furtivum. Hamashiach, Moshiach Adonai, but Moshihi, etc. With final aleph, Navi, better, before Cha, Chem, Chen, Chatef Patach, Nuviachem. If the word begins with a guttural, chapter 10a3 takes effect. Avon, Avon, Haemori, Avoni. Plural, Avonot, Avonotai. In nouns of the formation Pikadon, the dagesh is in most cases dropped with a kames. Zikaron, Zikeronech, but Isavon, Isevonech. Chapter 24. Masculines with changeable vowel in the last syllable. 1. Kames remains in an open syllable before the tone. Also before cha, chapter 22d, becomes patach in an unaccented closed syllable, status constructus singular, and before chem, chen, and disappears entirely, according to chapter 11 c1, when the tone is moved 2 places forward, status constructus plural, and before echem, echen, ehem, ehen. Mikdash, Mikdash Adonai, Mikdashi, Mikdashecha, Mikdashim, Mikdashecha, Mikdashe, El, Mispar, Misparchem. With a guttural, Malach, Malachim, Malachi David, Mora, Moraachem. Monosyllables, Yad, Yad Ha'adam, Yadich, Yetchem. Dual, Yadayim, Yadav. Yude Esav, Yudehem. Dam, Damharasha, Damücha, Dimchem. Chapter 11, F1. Damim, Demehem, shortened from Dame, Yade, from tertier he. 2. Sere remains in status constructus singular unchanged. Yoser ha'ares. It is found shortened to segol only before makef. Almost, chapter 38, without exception in Ben, for example, Ben Haran, the son of Haran. Sometimes in Shem, for example, Shem Shemer. On the other hand, Sere disappears even in the open syllable before the tone. Oyev, Oyevi, Oyevim. Before Cha, Chem, Chen, it is shortened to or even to the original E. Yoser, Yoseri, Yoserecha, Oyev, Oyevcha. To this group belong all participles with E in the last syllable, and not a few adjectives such as ilem, dump, cheresh, deaf, iwer, blind, plural, ilemim, hereshim, iverim. Wow, see chapter 6f. With a guttural, goel, goali, goalecha, boraecham, moed, moadim, uvemoadechem. The forms misbah, status constructus of misbeach, and ma'usar or ma'asar, status constructus of ma'aser, are to be explained by the fondness of their final consonants for ah. See, however, misped, lamentation, constructus mispat, and Zukan, chapter 25d. Monosyllables, Ben, see chapter 38, Shem, Shemo, Shimcha, Shemecha, Shemot, Shemot, Hagimorim, Es Ha'ayim, Esecha, Esim, Esayich, Aseola. Chapter 25. Masculines with two changeable vowels. Phonetic Law, chapter 11, c2. 1. vowels A and A. Kanaf, kunafo, kunaf hakeruv. Dual, kunafayim, kunafav. But since the tone is thrown forward 2 places, kanufihem and kanfiruach, so zanav, tail, zunavot, constructus zanevot. Syllable loosely closed, chapter 12q, hence p and bet aspirated. In the 3rd syllable, before the tone, a is reduced by thinning to e, chapter 11 f1, except when one of the first 2 consonants is a guttural, davar, devarim, devarai, divrichem, divrei Adonai, kazav, kisvehem, but see also chapter 10a3, chacham, chachamlev, chachamim, chachme, pareo, and nehar, neharim, nahare kush, feminine plural, necharot, nacharot bawel. 2 vowels E and A. Levav, levav pareo, levavi, levavicha. Enav, ha'anavim, inuverosh, poisonous grapes. Dagesh, see chapter 6e beta. 3 vowels A and E, first substantives. Sere is shortened in the status constructus to patach, remains however in an open syllable before the tone. Differently with oyev, etc. see chapter 24d. Zaken, Zukan Beto, the eldest of his house. Zukenim, Zikne Israel, Ziknehem, with a guttural, Chaser, Chasar HaKohanim, Chatzero, Chatzerecha, Chatzre, Bet HaElohim. Examples with chem, chen in the singular do not occur. In the status constructus, the following resemble segolats, chapter 28. Yarech, loin, Yerech, Avraham, Yurechi, Yurechaim, Gader, wall, Geder Heaser, Güdero, Katef, Humerus, latus, status constructus, Ketef, suffixed, Kütefi, si, arel. 2. Verbal adjectives, chapter 58b. Several retain sere in the plural status constructus. Yashin, Yushina, plural constructus Yushini. Shuchechim, Shucheche Elohim. Chafes, Chafesim, Chafese Raati. Psalm 40:15. Avel, Avel Im. Psalm 35:14. Avelim, Avile Sion, Avilav, Sameach, Semecha, Semechim, Semechi Raati, at my misfortune. Psalm 35:26, and Simche Lev, Jesaja 24:7. The plural constructus is wanting in Shachen, neighbor, inhabitant, Shechan, Shomron, Shecheno, Shechenenu, Shalem, integer, Shulemim, Yavesh, dry, Yuveshah, Karev, approaching, Kurevim, Chaser, constructus Chasarlev, Chadel, constructus Chadal, Amel, Amelim, Savea, constructus Seva, Sevea, Raev, Re'evim, with rejection of Sere, Chanef, profane, Chanefim, Chanefelev. Verbal adjectives ending in aleph retain Sere in the constructus singular. Yare, Yure Elohim, Yureim, Yure Echa, Yir'e Adonai, Male, Mule Yamim, Muleim, Tameh, Tumea, Tume Sefatayim, Tumeat Hashem, Impura quoat nomen, Sameh, Semeah, Arel, constructus Erelev, and Aral Sefatayim, plural Arelim, Arele, Basar, Kavet, constructus Kevet Abon, and Kevat Lashon, Kevedim, Kivde Lashon, Arech, long only in status constructus, Erech Apayim, long suffering. Anomalous, Sela, side, rib, constructus Sela and Sela, suffixed Sal-i, plural, Selaot, Salotab. Akev, heel, Akev Esav, Akevo, Akevai, Ikve sus, hoofs. Dages, chapter 6e beta. Chapter 26, masculines of one syllable with the final consonant doubled. In those nouns of the forms katl, kittel, kuttel, in which the second letter of the stem is either identical with the third, or is the letter nun, which assimilates with ease, chapter 10g, the last two consonants coalesce and form one double consonant. From the stem chasas we have formed after kittel, chisi, my arrow, hisim, arrows. So from anas, izim, from inzim, goats, izecha, thy goats. In all forms with formative additions, especially suffixes and plural, the vowel of the stem, because standing in a closed syllable, is unchangeable. In the singular, on the contrary, when without affirmatives, compensation lengthening takes place, since the last letter of the word cannot have dagesh forte. U becomes O, I becomes E, A alone usually remains unchanged, except when coinciding with a logical pause. See Stade, chapter 193b. Thus, arrow is not chis, but ches. Goat is not is, but is. Timbrel not tup, but tof, but from amam, people. The long vowel resulting from the compensation lengthening is shortened only before makef. For example, rov, abundance, rov ochel, but rov dagan. Animalus, alpha, o beside u. Oz, strength, azi beside uzi. Azucha beside uzucha. Better, dagesh is sometimes omitted before cha in chem, chapter 6f3. Chok, chakucha, chakchem. Gamma, in a few words, a is thinned to e in a syllable with dagesh. Pat, pitya, sat, sidah, chat, 4 is chat, chitchem. Delta, when the consonant to be doubled is a guttural or resh, a is always lengthened in the plural. Har, haruchem, hari shomron. Sar, sari, sarehem. Epsilon, har, par, am, with the article are always written hahar, hapar, haam. In some words, the third radical is doubled without any etymological reason. Hence, their inflection resembles that of the nouns treated of in this chapter. Examples: leom, nation; leumi, leumim. Erom and arom, naked; erumim, aruma. Arumim, written plene. Gamal, Gemalim, Gemalehem. Katan, Kutana. End of section 6. Section 21. Exercises in reading from the Hebrew Grammar of Strack. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For further information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Hebrew Grammar by Hermann Strack. Translated by A.R.S. Kennedy. Exercises in reading. Legendi exercitia. 1. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Zayin, Chet, Yod, Nun, Ein, Resh, Sin, Shin, Tau. Radavat, Aasazag. A. Chag, Yad, Rav, Shav, Av, Ash, Shat, Sas, Na, Na, Ach, Av, Az. 2. Lamet, Mim, Samek, Kof. E, Zet, Chet, Met, Et, Ed, Ner, Rek, Lev, Nes, Yesh, Esh, El, Et, Et, Ez, Shet, Shev. E, Me, Chek. I, Shir, Ir, Riv, Ish, Kir, Mi, Li. 3. He, Wow, Tet, Sade. O, Og, Kol, Lot, Ot, Mot, Tov, Hod, Ot, Hoi, Or, Nod, O, Lo, Kol, Log, Lo, Kor, Sor. U, Sus, Tuv, Chug, Chut, Hu, Sur, Lu. 4. Mim, Nun, Sas, Chach, Faf, Chamanafas. Yam, Sham, Sam, Lan, En, Hon, Ras, Kes, Sis, Lach, Lech, Ech, Of, Suf, Hem, Hen, Es, Sof, Chen, Sam, Kum, On, Yom, Kam, Kos, Em. 5. Nahar, Zachar, Zahav, Adam, Satan, Afar, Walad, Haran, Hagar, Asham, Ra'av, Sachar, Lavan, Chamesh, Akiv, Ha'is, Lachin, Asher, Rachel, Shalim, Shaliv, Ha'ir, Yamim, shanim, achiv, aviv, nalin, ashit, haor, makom, yado, achol, larov, magog, nachor, laor, tarof, shafot, asor, arur, hayu, asu, lagur, assur, nassu, lanu, ene, hechel, mees, esav, meish, hevi, lewi, sheni, meot, elon, wihi, ishech, sidon, kitor, oto, tobot, otam, olam, moav, lotesh, choresh, horeg, roves, romes, Yose, Oved, Yosef, Koli, Oti, Suru, Kumu, Ugav, Ruchi, Rucho, Achicha, Asita, Holido, Yadenu, Raiti. 6. Bv, Gv, Dv, Kh, Pf, T, P. Ben, Ben, Ba, Bo, Bo, Bor, Ger, Gad, Geb, Gur, Goy. Dan, Dor, Dam, Din. Kol, Ken, Kush, Kos, Ki. Pur, Pur, Pi, Tet, Tor. Tosef, Tofes, Parot, Gadol, Boged, Kawet, Telech, Tamut, Tetib, Dawar, Galui, Piha, Waira, Ki, Erom, Anochi, Waechawe. 7. Al, Ad, Gam, Gan, Chai, Rak, Ra, Kach, Al, Af, Sak, Bat, kaf. Shawat, amar, achal, lakach, yalat, yada, sarai, elai, ochal, omar, ro'ai, ulai, yuchal. 8. Dardar, mavdil, yachdav, naftali, shamati, harakti. Anshi, Avram, achalta, katavta, nafalta, yacholti, shacholti. Bach, ach, berach, zachart, meant, yalat, zachart, zachakt, yaft, yard, tesht, tosp, jest. 9. Sadiq, chayat, amon, matan, daber, kawu, sawu, wayef, wayesht, wayamot, hayom, hayam, hashem, hanachash. At, gawa, nagah, yigbah, titmah, imah, kocha, zar'ah, isha, komata. 10. Yehi, Sodom, Peri, Shemo, Shene, Meot, Gevul, Shelishi. Lechaskil, Besalmenu, Lehaskot. Pene Tehom, Naflu, Sharsu, Malchu, Abdu, Herefu, Benucha, Gechonecha, Yachpesu, Wayachtelu, Machshevot, Mamlechot. Dabru, Hakvul, Hashvi'i, Meraglim. 11. Im, Min, Im, Mishpat, Midbar, Ishto, Liskor, Likbor, Yishpot, Yigdal, Yishpetu, Wayikberu, Wenifkehu, Wayishb. Gibor, Shishim, Imo, Mikol, Yipared, Yikavu, Yiwaled, Wayipach, Wayita, Hashishi, Wayikach, Mipne, Miperi, Mibesari, Himetir, Hishrit, Yikra, Yishlach, Yulad, Lukach, Yukam, Kubar, Shulchu, Gunov, Gunavti, Umenam, Shulechan. 12. Egdal, Etin, Esatir, Eshmor, Nechmad, Esrim, Chevron, Violet, Vayinachem, Lachem, Lahem, Lahen, Atem, Mekartem, Shikaltem, Kametem, Yudaten, Diber, Kiper, Kibes, Bawel, Shechem, Barzel, Garzen, Hechag, Hearim, Darchecha, Shemecha, Lechi, Yehi, Yehi. 13. Ruchbo, Ruchba, Urko, Kotschecha, Osnuchem, Vehochlemu, Hochrat, Humlach, Hupkat, Kotnot, Ochlam, Chotsho, Wayakom, Wayaros, Wayashov. 14. Noach, Tasmiach, Judea, Rakia, Magbiah, Yagia, Masria, Reach, Hanichoach. 15. Yashuvu, Wayashuvu, Shuv, Shuv. Temutun, Yeshuvun. Hakruvim, Wayanusu. Sadikim, Sadikim, Sadikim. Simu, Waasim, Erumim, Goyim, Leviim. Mesukato, Kulam, Kulam. 16. Yoshev, יושב, שונא, שופט, נושא, ללבוש, שוטנאי, שוט, יתבוששו, שוטרים, קושט. 17. שנה, עשה, היה, איווה, חיה, סיווה, מנחה, הרבה, תרדימה, סילפה, הולדה, החמה, אכלה, חכמה, אכלה, הייתה, יהודה, ממנה, הימה, הנה, למה, ימה, שמה, פרעה, כה, פה, גלו, שלמה, הנה, ראה, קנה, שדה, גולה, אופה, בונה, אמחה, יבנה, יראה, מקנה, שמונה, זה, פה, se, ile. 18. פניך, אליך, הלך, גמליך, תפקנה, תבואנה, תסובנה, ותחילנה, פניו, אליו, ימיו. 19. פרן, התת, יסעתי, ראש, זאת, סון, תאכל, ויאמר, סונו, ראשית, מילאתי, לאלוהים, ראשון, ואדוני, תשאנה, תקראנה, תמצאנה, גיא, שב. 20. חנוך, עלי, הרגו, עשות, אשר, אמורה, ארורה, המישי, אכלך, זרעך, נפעלו, השואבות, צועקים, ויאחזו, והתברכו, תאכלנה, מרבבות, ויהללו, רננו, הללויה, היות, Enosh, Echol, Hari, Shibalim. 21. Ta'awa, Achari, Ha'azena, Yaakov, He'evir, Ahalo, Yacharam, Hachaleti, Mimachart. 22. Emet, We'emet, Le'emet, Ani, Wa'ani. 23. Mil'om, Milma'ela, Tevakshu, Bal'umim. 24. Ben-Nechar, Kol-Of, Timshal-Bo. 25. Sheres, Nefesh, Yerek, Kedem, Derech, Harumeset, Sefer, Shewet, Boker, Gofer, Kofer. Eref, Eres, Even, Cherev, Lechem, Rechem, Deshe, Izer, Isev, Urech, Choshech, Ohel, Ozen. Zera, Petach, Nega, Kemach, Pesa, Semach, Sohar, Shoham, Rohav, Urach. Naar, Paam, Lahat, Da'at. Tawech, Mawet, Tohu, Bohu, Ayin, Yayin, Kais, Ha'ayit, Ayil, Zait, Ayin, Bayit. 26. Enayim, Karnayim, Oznayim, Raglayim, Saharayim, Appayim. Naaraim, Shunaim, Matayim, Mayim, Shamayim, Yerushalayim. End of section 21.